Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Ravens Call. Again, I'm your host, Tyler Cameron. If you don't know what this podcast consists of, I got that intro video at the start, or you could just follow along with the week-by-week basis. I go over all the NFL games for each week, as well as the Ravens towards the end, and then I give my predictions/previews going on to the next week, and we go over those at the end. My podcast is on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, as well as Spotify. You can find all the links to those in each of those streaming services, or you can go on my Instagram page, the Ravens Call Podcast, and find it from there. On that note, I'm hoping everyone is having a great Wednesday as we start getting into the colder weather of November and getting closer to Thanksgiving. And I hope you're ready to listen to some exciting NFL and Baltimore Ravens news. All right. So for the start here, we had a lot of good games this week. We're starting to get to that point where playoffs are starting to look up for some teams, as well as some people are starting to look at what draft pick they're going to be getting going forward. A lot of statement wins for some teams this week, but let's go over them. Starting out with the first game on Thursday night, which was the Commanders, who were 7-3, and the Eagles that were 7-2. Let's go over that one. All right. Washington was not able to convert a lot. Jaden Daniels went 22-32, 191, one touchdown, one pick, and 3 sacks. They started out, it was 10-6. Going into the fourth quarter, they looked like the more dominant team a little bit, and then it kind of went off the rails for them. They weren't able to run the ball as well. Scary Terry wasn't involved. They couldn't find anything in the pass game, and that's what really caused them to lose this game. Now, for the Eagles, they were not playing like themselves. They haven't really been for a while. I mean, they basically get carried by Saquon Barkley a lot of the times, and that's kind of what happened this game. Jalen Hurts, 18-28, 221, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Saquon Barkley, 26 carries, 146 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I mean, he's kind of the guy that they've looked at to get them, and Saquon Barkley is the make or break for the Eagles. The Eagles are 8-2, but they're like the Kansas City Chiefs. They're not playing like their record shows. They're playing worse than what their record shows, and it's very daunting to see that. But the Eagles will have to face some tough AFC North teams here coming up, and they'll have to be really put to the test because, the Commanders played really well against the AFC North teams, put up a good fight, and I just don't think the Eagles are going to have what it takes, but we'll see on that going forward. A little bit of a preview into what we're going to talk about for the Ravens game. The Ravens lost to the Steelers 18-16, and then the Eagles, of course, won 26-18, but the Ravens lost 16-18. If you don't want to hear about the Ravens game, I'm going to be towards the end of that. I just could skip over that. I'm going to completely go off on both the teams on the game as well as record-wise, but it was a tough loss for the Ravens, tough loss for me, but I was able to get a kind of a bright spot in the afternoon, which is the next game we're going to talk about here, which was the Broncos and the Falcons. Now, the score of this game, the Broncos won 38-6. Now you're thinking the Broncos played Carolina. No, they played the Falcons. And the Falcons are supposed to be a pretty good team. They were 6-4 going into this, cruising through their division because, Tampa Bay got injured and Tampa Bay just hasn't been able to secure some wins. But Falcons scored 6 points in the first half, weren't able to do anything towards the end. Kirk Cousins was benched in the fourth quarter. But let's go over the Falcons here. Kirk Cousins, 18-27, 173, 1 interception. Weren't able to run the ball, had 50 yards rushing. Pass game wasn't really there. I mean, that goes to show Denver's defense is the best defense in the NFL right now. But now their offense is starting to click. This game was probably the most sound a defense and offense has looked for Denver in a while, but for most teams in a while. I mean, it was just a beautiful game for them. But now let's go over for Denver, which Bo Nix now I think has become the front runner for Rookie of the Year, rightfully so. Bo Nix, 28 of 33, 5 incompletions, 307 and 4 touchdowns. Running the ball, it's been pretty decent. They've had a three-headed monster in Williams, McLaughlin, and Esme. Cortland Sutton, 7 receptions, 78 yards. Vele is starting to come on. Humphreys is starting to get there. It's looking good. And then they're just going to get Josh Reynolds back once he's fully healthy. But this team's looking good. Team's looking good. They're looking for a playoff push. They're at the 7th seed right now. Everyone else that's going for the 7th seed is under 500. So if the Broncos can stay over 500, they're looking pretty good so far. So great statement win for the Broncos on that. On to another clash of divisions, the NFC North. The Packers and the Bears. The Bears are looking to get back to 500. They've dropped a few games. And the Green Bay Packers are just trying to get back to being healthy. Jordan Love has just not been as healthy as he'd like to be. But Packers end up squeaking out a win 20-19. I'll go over what happened in the end in just a second. Jordan Love went 13, 261, 1 interception, 1 touchdown. Pretty decent game for him. Was able to minimize the damage. Josh Jacobs was able to catch the ball and run the ball very effectively. Christian Watson, 4 receptions, 150 yards. Another good game for him. Caleb Williams, 23 of 31, 231, and 3 sacks. He played pretty decently. I mean, he was the 4th best quarterback this week, I would say. Maybe he beats out Jayden Daniels for 3rd. But, it's just crazy how, he's supposed to be this Rookie of the Year. And I told everyone at the start, I said, Bo Nix and Jayden Daniels are the 2 people I would pick. Drake May is more of the one I would have picked over Caleb Williams. But a lot of people want Caleb Williams benched. Their veterans want him benched, which is amazing to me that that was said. But he really showed up this game, was able to run the ball well as well, which I'll talk about here. Is he had 9 carries for 70 yards. He kept them in this game. So he's earned back his trust. DJ Moore, Dunze were there. Allen, not as much. But pretty much what happened in this game is it was a dogfight going into it. A lot of back and forth. Packers were able to kick a field goal. Bears were able to get down into field goal position in the last seconds to win the game, and they got the field goal blocked. Denver Broncos know what that's about after what happened with the Chiefs, but Bears just lose in heartbreaking fashion. Now they're 4-6. Green Bay's 7-3, coasting into the playoffs. Bears are looking like the team of old. Not necessarily their record shows that they're the team of old, but they have a lot of upside going forward. If Caleb Williams can have another game like this, just be able to finish and score those touchdowns. But another great game, nail biter till the end. What wasn't a nail biter to the end is the next game we're going to talk about, which was the Jaguars and the Lions. Now, I don't really have to talk about this game. Jared Goff threw for a lot. They were able to rush the ball well. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jason Williams was able to do what, it shows, Lions, 9-1 team, best team in the NFC, best team in the NFL right now. Jaguars, abysmal team. Thought they were going to be a team that could maybe go to the playoffs, but they're not even better than the Colts, which is kind of shocking. Vikings and Titans. Now, the Titans are a very sneaky good defense, which is kind of shocking. Again, this game was pretty easy to see. Titans had one good play for a touchdown. That was about it. Minnesota was able to just kind of manage the game, limit mistakes, and just kind of coast to victory with the 23-13. There was a terrible penalty that was in the end zone. It was for unnecessary roughness or targeting, something like that, which it really wasn't. He didn't lift. His toe was still on the ground. He hit him in the chest. It was a beautiful hit on 4th down. But they called that, and Vikings were able to score. It still would have been 16-13, but again, that was a huge momentum shift for them. Dolphins and Raiders. Dolphins were able to win 34-19. Vegas was able to pass the ball pretty effectively. I mean, when Brock Bowers has 13 receptions, 126 yards and a touchdown, he's going to be a bright spot for them in years to come. Tua and them, they played pretty decent. But again, I mean, you're playing the Raiders. Like, it's not like you're facing a great defense or offense on that. So, Rams beat the Patriots. They're back to 500, 28-22. Drake May played well, but we'll go over the Rams here for a second. Matthew Stafford, 18-27, 4 touchdowns. Williams was able to run the ball effectively. Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. I mean, everyone else had 1 reception, 2 reception, 1 reception, but it was Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp day. Both of them over 100 yards, both of them 3 touchdowns combined. They killed it like normal. Drake May, 30-40, 282 and 2 touchdowns, ran the ball for 27 yards. Like, he's looking like a good quarterback. I mean, he put up 22 points. He's looking like a good quarterback. So right now it goes, for me, Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Caleb Williams. And that's how I think it may stay, but we'll see. I'm not really going to go over the Saints-Browns game. Saints won 35-14. Browns suck. The only bright spot was Williams had 7 carries, 136 yards, 3 touchdowns for the Saints. He is a tight end, by the way. And then for the Browns, Jeudy, 6 receptions, 142 yards, and a touchdown. Jeudy finally does something in his career. You know, I thought maybe he would just listen to Steve Smith and was an average player, which, I mean, he still is. Don't get me wrong. Everyone can have one good game, and that's what he did here. But they're still irrelevant. So the Colts and the Jets. This was a close game in the end. The Colts win 28-27. Anthony Richardson showed out today. Showed out that day. 20-30, 272, 1 touchdown. Jonathan Taylor wasn't really able to run the ball that well. Richardson really wasn't either. He just had those 2 rushing touchdowns that really helped them. Downs and Pittman are starting to get back into the fold. Aaron Rodgers just played minimal. Breece Hall was their bright spot, but the Jets didn't really play well either. It was one of those games where this was a must-win for the Jets, and now that the Jets lose, they're kind of really squeaking in to maybe make the playoffs barely, but it'd be very hard for them. Colts keep their playoff hopes alive. They're right behind. They're 1 game behind the Broncos at this point for that 7 seed. Now another upset, I would say, was the Seahawks and the 49ers. Seahawks won the game 20-17. They really were able to control the game. Geno Smith had some good passes, but 1 interception really cost him. Brock Purdy just wasn't his best. McCaffrey did all that he could, but the Seahawks were just able to manage the game and then score towards the end. It's kind of funny. They had scored a touchdown until Nick Bosa went out. Yeah, Nick Bosa went out. And then they scored touchdowns and were able to run the ball effectively. And Geno Smith had a really good ending drive and was able to run it in for a touchdown to kind of close out the game. And 49ers do not look good. 49ers have a tough schedule ahead, and they're squeaking in at 500. And right now they're making it even more difficult on themselves to make the playoffs because you pretty much have to win the division to be in the playoffs at this point. We'll go over the playoff picture at the very, very end of the video or at the end of the podcast. Now on to the game of the week. Bills and Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, 23-33, 196, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. That's your MVP? Is this your guys' MVP? I just bring that up because they keep making him seem like he's MVP related. Your team's 9-0, and you've actually hindered. You're the reason why these games are close. Now, Josh Allen didn't have his best game, but Josh Allen right now is the favorite to win MVP, and I don't doubt it. Him and Lamar Jackson are running away with the award at this point, in my opinion. Kareem Hunt was okay running the ball. They weren't able to pass the ball effectively. Travis Kelce, 2 receptions for 8 yards. Josh Allen, 20 40, 262, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Josh Allen was able to run the ball for 55 yards and a touchdown. James Cook ran the ball for 2 touchdowns, but Shakir, Samuel, Cooper, Knox, they were able to come in and really push the pedal to the metal on that. And so very, very happy to see that from their end is just they were able to just do so much. And the Buffalo is really good at winning games in the regular season against them. But they won 30-21. It wasn't a close game, really, in my opinion. I just felt that the Bills just have a way about them when it comes to regular season against the Chiefs. But when it comes down to it, they always lose just by the end against the Chiefs. Now on to the Sunday night game. Chargers and the Bengals. Now, this game was not close going into the half. Chargers dominated this game. Bengals couldn't get in the end zone. It was 6-24 at halftime. And coming in, it just looked dominant up until the Bengals started coming alive in the third and fourth quarter. Joe Burrow, 28-50, 356 yards and 3 touchdowns. Chase Brown, 86 yards rushing. T. Higgins, 9 receptions, 148 yards and a touchdown. Jamar Chase, 7 receptions, 75 yards and 2 touchdowns. It was just a remarkable game for the Bengals passing and running the ball. It's just their defense can't do anything, and their defense is costing them a chance at the playoffs. They're 4-7. They've pushed themselves so far back that they're going to have to pretty much win out and hope that the Broncos don't take advantage of that, because the Ravens hopefully will turn it around. The Chargers are now 7-3. They're atop there, so they'll have a good seeding against the Bengals for the tiebreaker on that. But Herbert was able to throw pretty effectively, 17-36, 297 and 2 touchdowns. He was able to throw effectively in the first half, and then they slowly just eased off the gas pedal in the end. They didn't really run the ball effectively. McConkey, 6 receptions, 123 yards. Disley. It was a good game for the Chargers. It was a lot closer than they wanted it towards the end, but they were able to pull out the win, and that's a huge win for the Chargers, a devastating loss for the Bengals on that. And then the Monday night game, Texans blew out the Cowboys 34-10. Mixon had another great game, 20 carries, 109 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That's pretty much it. I don't really have to go into it. Cowboys are terrible. They haven't won a game at home. So it's looking pretty bad. But that is it for week 11 of the NFL. Now we're going to go on to the team I love and the team that needs to get their shit together now, the Baltimore Ravens. All right, so the Baltimore Ravens lost 16-18. This was the biggest slap in the face game for the Baltimore Ravens because this happens every time that we play the Steelers. Let me paint you a picture. We had 2 fumbles lost, 1 interception that I don't believe is actually an interception. Hill's knee went down and he still had control of the ball, and then when he fully went to the ground, the ball was ripped out. That didn't count, but I digress. Lamar Jackson was not as accurate as he normally is. Derrick Henry, first drive of the game, loses the football. And to top it off, Pittsburgh never scored a touchdown. They had 6 field goals. They could barely do anything on offense. This team is not offensive based. They rely so heavily on their defense. The only good thing about the Ravens is our defense looked very good going forward. Our defense was able to stop them when they were in the red zone because of the offense. But yes, Lamar could have played better. Anyone could have. But, dropped passes, missed opportunities, they were all there. And then to top it off, Justin Tucker misses 2 easy field goals, which even one of those wins us the game. I mean, the Steelers, yeah, Russell Wilson, 23 to 36, 205, and an interception, 4 sacks. Weren't able to run the ball. They could only throw to Pickens. That was it. They did nothing else. Their defense is amazing. TJ Watt is really good. I mean, Patrick Queen, he can say that he's really good. I didn't want him, and I still don't want him. The only reason he was good is because he was playing alongside Roquan Smith, so they had to make sure that he wasn't the main guy. He had a decent game tackling, but he's very easily able to be exposed. The main people that you got to watch out for is Fitzpatrick, Hayward, Watt. Herbig was pretty good too, and Preston Smith. They are very easily flawed at cornerback. I don't understand what it is. I mean, Mike Tomlin is a great coach. Great coach. He owns us. He knows how to play us. Is the Pittsburgh Steelers a better team than us? Not even close. If we're able to put up points, they can't contest with us. Even with our defense playing as shitty as it was, it shows right here. They were in the red zone. Let's see. Let's go team stats here. They were in the red zone 4 times and never scored a touchdown. We were in the red zone twice and made it. We had 3 turnovers, 2 missed field goals, passed the ball better, had more yards. And then, another big kicker was 12 penalties for 80 yards. And guess what? We still had a chance to tie the game in the end. That's the amazing part. Is we had all of these errors and still had a chance to win against the Steelers. That shows you that A, the Steelers have our number. B, the Steelers are not that good. They just squeak by our wins. Because, I mean, seriously, we had 3 turnovers, that many penalties, and 2 missed field goals, and you beat us because we didn't get the 2-point conversion. That's the amazing part. If we're able to put up, next game, if we're able to put up at least 24 points, we will win. But we have to play better. We play down to their level. The Steelers have a great defense. That's all they have. Their offense is complete shit when they face a decent defense. But they squeak out wins. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. We just have to limit our mistakes, and we win this game by far. The Steelers can say what they want. The Steelers themselves, I give it all the credit in the world to Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin is the reason the Steelers beat the Ravens all the time, because he just knows how we do things. He operates. He knows how to get under John Harbaugh's skin. And that's the thing. You take out Mike Tomlin, we're whooping them like 40-3. Russell Wilson didn't cook. I mean, the only thing bad that happened for the Steelers that game was that he threw an interception that he shouldn't have thrown. I mean, I just don't know where our team goes when we play the Steelers. We can whoop every team in the NFC. We can whoop all these bigger teams. Kill Buffalo, Dallas when they had Dak. We're killing all these teams, but we can't beat the Steelers or the Browns. Like, it's awful. But again, there is a silver lining to this. In my eyes, this was a wake-up call to show, to be the best, you have to beat the best. The Steelers aren't the best. Their record shows they are. They're not. They faced weak teams up until the Commanders. They barely squeaked out wins against both our teams. They didn't play good. But when you have the defense you don't have to play good. But the Ravens need a wake-up call to show, hey, we are that team to make the playoff push. Because we play like this against Buffalo, against Kansas City, there's no Super Bowl. We're still in it. I don't care if it's a wild card or the division. Lamar, Derrick Henry, and our offense has to step up. I am very proud of our defense. this week. Oweh stepped up with pretty much 3 sacks. He came out to play. We were just very good defensively. And that's one thing that's really good, and I hope we take note of, because if we can stay that way, I'm so very happy. But yes, 18-16, I hope it stings, because the Baltimore Ravens have a lot of work to do, a lot of things to get up with. Johnson needs to be more of a factor, because Flowers can't carry the burden his own. Likely and Andrews will get up there. Bateman, it's just so many targets. It's just frustrating, because it's like the Steelers aren't even that good of a team, and we're losing to buffoons that they cower behind their defense. So that's just kind of how it goes at that point. But I digress. I mean, that's just kind of how it goes from here for that. But again, there's not much that I can do or say about this game other than I hope that this lights a fire under our team. We play the Steelers at home. That game should not be close. That game needs to be a statement game. It's week 16. We're going to punch them in the mouth, and then we're going to go punch the Texans and the Eagles in the mouth. And then we're going to start the playoffs hot. That's what I want to see from our team. But let's look at the Ravens schedule really quick, and then we'll kind of go off of that here. So we need a bounce back game against the Chargers. This is a must-win game. Eagles, I feel it's at home, so I feel pretty confident about that. Then against New York, that needs to be a defensive game for us. That needs to be they score 3 points, or maybe 10. They get 1 touchdown. That's it. Then we face the Steelers, which when we face the Steelers, it needs to be a bloodbath. It needs to be like Denver, 41-10. I don't want to see us even close. We do not need any more losses. Look, we lose to Vegas. We lose to the Browns. We lose to Steelers. Kansas City was a pretty close one. But the only teams that beat us are our own team. And that's what happened in that game. That's what has happened against Cleveland. That's what happened against the Raiders. Kansas City, they played really well. We just weren't in the jive, but we'll get there. Houston has a pretty decent offense, but we've played Houston before. We kind of understand how they play. I feel pretty confident in that. And then this game here, to end the season, it cannot be 29-24. It cannot be 35-34. It needs to be 35-10. We need to have a strong defensive performance going into it. So that is it for the Baltimore Ravens. Now let's move on to the previews for week 12. Okay? All right, here we go. Thursday night game, Steelers-Browns. The Steelers are going to win that. That kind of hurts because, we're 2 games out from them. We need to make sure that the Steelers lose at least 1, and then we'll beat them at home, and then we should be able to hopefully squeak out that performance. But you never know. Broncos-Raiders. Broncos should win. Very establishing. That would be good for them. Start out 7-5 as they start getting into some more, a little bit tougher of opponents. Vikings-Bears. I think the Vikings should destroy them, but I think this may be a little closer if Caleb Williams plays well. Lions and Colts. Lions should kill them. Miami and Patriots. I think Miami will win, but not by 7. Not by 7 at that point. Bucks and Giants. Bucks will win. Commanders, Cowboys, come on. Chiefs, Panthers, come on. Texans and Titans. This might be a lot closer because it's a divisional game, and we'll have to see. But I think that the Texans will win. And then we have 3, pretty much the rest of the games here are games of the week, pretty much. 49ers and Packers. 49ers, it's a must win. Packers need to win to kind of keep up that dominance. and kind of stay in the playoff picture, because you start losing here and then you start facing the division, and Niners could squeak out and maybe make a playoff run to get into the wild card. I think the Packers will win though. Cardinals and Seahawks. Now this is a tough game. Seahawks were able to best the 49ers. Cardinals have been playing really, really well. This is a toss-up for me. I think I might go Cardinals. And then Sunday night game is the Eagles and Rams. I'm going to go Eagles, but this could be a lot closer of a game if the Rams show out with their passing game like they have been and be able to run with Williams. On to the last game, which is the Baltimore Ravens and the Chargers. Now, I think this is going to be a statement win. This is a statement win for either team, but I think the Ravens need this more. I mean, the Chargers are kind of just chilling at this point. But the Ravens really need to show that they are that team in the AFC that can be a threat in the playoffs, no matter the seed. Because Lamar Jackson does not care about winning MVP. Derrick Henry doesn't care about winning Offensive Player of the Year. They love the award. They want the Super Bowl. Derrick Henry's never been that far. Lamar Jackson's never been to a Super Bowl. Like, we need to get to that point. And I think the Ravens will win at that point. The bye teams are the Falcons, the Bills, the Bengals, the Saints, the Jets, and the Jaguars. Jets and Saints really need it, as well as the Bengals. The Bills are just kind of trying to gain that momentum. The Falcons need to bounce back after getting humiliated by the Broncos. Now we'll go over standings and then we'll go over stats here. But let's go to playoff picture. So right now, Kansas City is number 1 seed at 9-1. Bills are 9-2. If Kansas City can lose one more time, the Bills will take over the number 1 spot, and I would love that for me, because if the Broncos are in at the 7 seed, I could see the Broncos upsetting the Chiefs in the playoffs. Steelers at 3, Texans at 4, Chargers at 5 seed, and the Ravens need this to bounce into that 5 seed and stay up there so that they can hopefully make that run for the 3rd spot, because I think we'll beat the Texans and be able to keep that throne on the 3 seed. Are out there, but they have a tough matchup against Detroit, so that could be bad for them. Dolphins, they had a bye, so they need to hopefully get a win here against, I forget who. I think it's a pretty easy win for them. Bengals are on a bye, so they need to really work themselves up. Jets, from Jets on, it's kind of like you're stringing it like 1% going in. All right, let's see here. So we got the Lions at 9-1, best team in the NFL. Eagles 8-2, and they're kind of there. They're not really that good of a team. They just have kind of faced pretty easy teams. Cardinals 6-4, pretty surprising there, but been playing really dominant. Falcons are still 6-5. They have a game lead against the Bucks. Vikings are 8-2 at the 5. Packers 7-3. Commanders 7-4. The Rams, Seattle, and 49ers are all 8, 9, and 10. Those are the teams that are fighting for their division as well as for that last playoff spot. And if Washington can get themselves together and be able to muster up those wins, these guys will beat themselves at that point. But I really think that if Denver can win this next game, there'll be a 7-5. I think the Colts will lose to Detroit, so they'll be 5-7, and then Dolphins have a lot to go against at that point, because they still have to face. Let me see the Dolphins really quick. The Dolphins have to play the Packers, the Jets, the Texans, the 49ers. Yeah, so they have a while. They're probably not going to be in the playoffs unless they somehow amaze us. The Bengals, they have the Steelers, the Broncos, and the Steelers. So those are the big matchups for them. You can't lose another game, really. I'm hoping that the Steelers go 1-1 against the Bengals, because I need the Steelers to lose one more game. But we'll go from there. Let's check stats for season leaders. Lamar Jackson's still staying at that 2. Joe Burrow. It sucks because, I mean, if you look at receiving and passing, Joe Burrow, 3,000 yards. Jamar Chase, 1,000 yards. And it's like, seriously? You know? And look, Trey Hendrickson is leading the league in sacks. And they're 4-7. It's just amazing to me. But Lamar Jackson, Kirk Cousins, Geno, and Stroud, pretty good company there. Derrick Henry's now, the lead is shortened a little bit. He's only up, not that many yards, but, I think he'll really be stepping up here in the near future because the Ravens need to keep the run identity. You can't just chuck up the pass, especially against the Steelers. You have to be able to run the ball. But you have to be able to do it to where it doesn't look like a run. Run the read option against not TJ Watt's side, but whichever side TJ Watt is not on, and just let it go to work. Josh Jacobs, Chuba Hubbard, Gibbs doing well. Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Pickens, and then Zay Flowers is right there. So really good company. Roquan's at the top, but he just got injured. Hopefully that's not too bad. Got Franklin. Wilson, third tackles for Cincy. Like, they're playing really good. It's just, wow. Hendrickson up there. Sexy Dexy is up there at 9. Nick Bonito just came up flying up. He's got 9 sacks for Denver. It's going good. Marlon Humphreys is still at that 5 for us with 5 picks. It's just, it's tough. I mean, passing, 3rd in passing, 2nd in rushing, 1st in offensive yards, 3rd in sacks. It's just crazy. I mean, Steelers with the turnovers, but the Steelers aren't anywhere on here. Every team we faced, let me just make sure I say, before I say something stupid here. The teams we've lost to, besides the Chiefs here with yards allowed, are nowhere to be seen. Yeah, Steelers with turnovers is very good, but they don't have sacks. They're not top 5 in sacks. They're not top 5 in yardage. They're nowhere near. None of them are near here in the offensive capabilities. So that's what amazes me. My Ravens team is doing well offensively, as well as the Broncos are doing well defensively. They don't have as many turnovers, but top in sacks by 3, 3rd in defensive yardage. Wow, it's going to be a good playoff time for a lot of us. But that is it for this episode. I hope that everyone has a good week. And I want to thank you guys all for listening. Episodes go online Wednesday at 12. I put something on my Instagram page and my Facebook page to let you know that the episode is up and live. Please go check that out. If you have any comments or anything, I have no problem talking about anything related to any other team besides the Browns. If you guys have something that you guys want to discuss, more than welcome to create a segment or talk about it a little more in depth for you. Make sure to like and subscribe to my podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Feel free, again, to comment anything. Also, all the music and sound is provided by my brother-in-law, Justin. So, Justin, thank you for that. Well, Ravens Nation, thanks for joining me on this episode. Until next time, stay fierce, stay loyal, and keep rooting for that purple and black. I'll see you next time on The Ravens Call.